Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
'25. Now it's 2026, Friday night, 2026, our first show of 2026. Thanks for joining us. A little bit later on, we're going to have some fun and check in with Theo Lewis Clark. We've got Hollywood Exec for a Day. That's the game we play on the show. Also, Bill Cleveland is with us, our traveling guru. Bill on the road. Where did he go? He went to soggy, wet, rainy Rose Bowl. He's been spending time in Southern California. I thought it never rained in Southern California, but apparently it did on Bill. So we'll get into that in hour number 2. This hour, well, of course, hour number 3 will take your phone calls. This hour, President Trump, in a Wall Street Journal article, said he takes more aspirin than his doctor recommends. We'll talk to a doctor about that and the good and the bad for being and diagnosing and taking your own pills whenever you want. But this first half of the first hour, one of our producers and I just happened to be watching at the same time, two different households, at the same time over this past couple of days. We were watching a 1958 movie called Anti-Mame, and this scene caught our attention.
Well, now, read me all the words you don't understand.
Libido, inferiority complex, stinko, blotto, free love, bathtub gin, monkey glands, Karl Marx. Is he one of the Marx brothers?
Oh, no, dear, no.
Sheila's pretty good tonight, Missy. Marie Antoinette room again?
Yes, perhaps she'll wake up without a head tomorrow. Oh, Anito, get that dog of a dress off her.
Me tucker in.
Is the English lady sick, Auntie Mame?
Oh, she's not English, darling. She's from Pittsburgh.
She sounded English.
Well, when you're from Pittsburgh.
We both said, boy, that was a pretty funny movie, Anti-Mame. And then we thought to ourselves, whatever happened to that actor? Well, we tracked him down. That actor who played Patrick Dennis in that 1958 movie, Anti-Mame, went on to become a famous federal prosecutor and an even more famous white-collar lawyer. His name is Jan Handzlik, and he joins us now for a couple minutes. Jan, thanks for joining us here on America at Night.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
When was the last time you sat down and watched Anti-Mame?
Well, probably not for a couple of years now. Whenever I do watch it, my kids get very bored and go out of the room, so it doesn't stay on very long.
You know, I was shocked. Because I came across it and I have seen it. I don't know. It's in some ways it still stands the test of time. It's a little dated, but you know, it's a lot of innuendo. It was really actually very funny.
It's a funny movie, and it's also good around the holidays. Good Christmas theme to it.
Yeah, it ended up. It was nominated for 5 Academy Awards.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. Now, how did you get the role? Was your family in show business?
Well, in fact, my mother was an operatic contralto and also an actress who was in, I think, about 10 or 11 Broadway shows. But she wasn't a stage mother by any means, but we simply heard, or she heard from her agent, that a Broadway show was being cast, had Rosalind Russell in it, and they were looking for a boy about my age and would I like to try out. And I did. I was 10 years old at the time. I did. And after winnowing down the field from 300 or 400 boys to 2, she selected me.
Wow. And you just walked off the street. Yeah, I guess you had it in your blood, but no real training, right? You just walked off the street and got it?
No real training. I had done some parts in summer stock in Massachusetts when my mother was in plays and musicals up there, but that was just for fun. So yeah, no training. I just walked on.
Yeah, and then after the Broadway musical was a hit, then they turned it into a movie, and of course, you were the perfect person to play Patrick Dennis in the movie.
Yeah, actually, the original Anti-Mame was not a musical. It was just a stage show. The later version of the movie Auntie Mame was called Mame, had Lucille Ball, and that was a musical, but that was after my time.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, so you're this child actor. You're in a Broadway play. You're in a musical. You're in a Academy Award nominated movie. And what makes you turn your back on Hollywood?
Well, I'm not sure that so much I turned my back on Hollywood than Hollywood turned its back on me. I like to say that I was a has-been by 14, but that's the way it goes. I continued to try out for parts, and I was in a number of things afterwards. But really, my attention turned to schoolwork and an education.
Yeah, you ended up becoming a lawyer, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But talk for a minute,
Sure.
Jan, about being a child actor. Right, the knock is they can't adjust to regular life. Right, you're washed up by your 14. You have
Right.
a different world, and a lot of sort of newer generation, right, 21st century kids had a harder time dealing with it. You seem to come out unscathed.
Well, I like to think that. In fact, I knew a lot of kids who were aspiring actors when they were kids, and they were still aspiring actors when they were in their 30s and 40s. So it's a very tough thing for some people to walk away from the spotlight, shall we say, or the adulation and the attention that you get. But I think I owe a lot of that to my mother.
Yeah, how'd you do it? Well, I mean, did she sit you down? Was she active in it? I mean, were they consciously talking about it?
Well, my mother, I remember to this day that while I was interested in pursuing acting, and she encouraged me if that's what I want to do, she said, it'd be a really good idea if you had something to fall back on. So I think you really ought to pursue an education too. And I did, and it's a good thing.
And why the law? What was it about the law that struck you?
Well, there is it's actually being a trial lawyer is what struck me. The fact of the matter is that there are a lot of similarities between being an actor and being a trial lawyer. A lot of drama involved and playing a part or a role. And I will say, as many kids did, I watched Perry Mason and The Defenders and a number of other TV shows that featured criminal defense lawyers, and I thought, well, I think I'd like to do that. It's kind of unusual because I sort of picked out my career and what I wanted to do when I was quite young.
Yeah, I could see the similarities between being an actor on Broadway and all of a sudden being a federal prosecutor. I mean, a lot of similarities. You're playing to the crowd. You have to tell a story. You have to keep it succinct. You have to project so everybody hears it, right? You have to sell your story. I mean, it's kind of makes sense. You would have become a prosecutor and a defense attorney.
Well, and there are also the critics too. I guess you could say that was the jury. But yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of apt comparisons.
Yeah, you were a federal prosecutor for how long until you switched to the other side?
I was a prosecutor here in Los Angeles for 5 years in the U.S. Attorney's Office here.
Yeah. Any notable cases you worked on?
Well, there were a number, but none that would be recognizable by anyone today, I don't think. But a lot of major fraud cases. And what I did was, after the U.S. Attorney's Office, I, as you say, switched over to the other side. So I was doing the defense of fraud cases. I sort of learned, I was a law clerk to a federal judge and then 5 years in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I took that experience and applied it in private practice. Yeah.
One of your most famous, when you switched to the defense side, is Tukey Williams, who was the head of the West Side Crips. That must have been an extraordinary journey to go from a Broadway childhood actor to defending the head of the West Side Crips. Well, to be fair about it, I was part of a team that represented Tukey when he was facing execution, and we worked on a writ of habeas corpus to get him released, to have the death penalty set aside. And it was not successful. So
Yeah, but from that standpoint, it certainly was. And I've represented a number of entertainment figures, Steven Seagal, and a number of things. But I usually don't talk about my clients because the things I represent them in or for are usually things they'd rather forget.
No, I could see that, right? I mean, you're part of there's certain things you learn as being a lawyer. But what's interesting about defense attorneys today is when they represent famous people, the first thing they do is run to the television set and sort of try the case in the public. Was that a strategy you ever employed?
No. That's been going on for quite a while. And unfortunately, it was, at least with the district attorney's office in Los Angeles, I'm thinking of many cases, but like O.J. Simpson and others, it was the prosecutors who ran to the press first, and the defense attorneys did too. But no, that's not. Since my practice was and still is primarily in federal court, that sort of thing is frowned on. And I always tell myself that I really only have one audience, and that's initially the judge, but the jury, and it's not a larger audience in the community.
Yeah, are you saying that trying your case in public is frowned upon? Because
maybe I said that trying your case in the press is frowned upon, and trying to I guess manipulate a jury or a jury pool before you get to court.
You're the only honest lawyer out there. All the other ones are trying their case in the court of public opinion, it seems like.
Well, it's a wonder I haven't gone broke, frankly. But yes, that's right.
Jan, does anybody still recognize you from your anti-MAME days?
Well, it not when I'm walking down the street, of course, but I do on a regular basis. And when I say regular, I mean every 2 to 3 weeks I receive requests for my autograph or to sign pictures, or many people have just written me and simply told me how much they enjoyed my performances in the Anti-MAME and Twilight Zone. So I've made an impression on some people anyway.
Yeah. Well, to go and carry the screen as a 13-year-old with Rosalind Russell, man, that's saying quite a bit. That's in the tip of the cap to you. That is not easy.
Well, it's not. But of course, I think for a child who isn't worried so much about how the rest of the world sees him, and is not as self-conscious, it's more natural. And it's, at least for me, I didn't find it stressful, shall we say. I mean, it certainly was not easy work, and over several months. And when I left home, came out to Los Angeles as a child. But for a child, I think it is easier in many ways because they certainly are just playing themselves in many respects. The other thing is that you asked me about the transition from Broadway to the movie Anti-MAME. That was because of Rosalind Russell. I had been young Patrick for a year and a half on Broadway with her. She left the play, and then Greer Garson came in and became Anti-MAME. But when Miss Russell, as I still call her, was getting ready to make the movie, she wanted me to play young Patrick because I'm the young Patrick she was used to. And of course, I'm a fabulous actor. But aside from that, I was the person that she was used to, and so there was a bit of a tug of war. But I guess what I'm saying is that I continued on in the same role that I'd been playing nightly, or 8 times a week with matinees, into the movie with many of the same people. So it was an easy transition.
Yeah. Are you still getting residuals from that when they show it at Christmas time?
Never got a penny, and that is because the movie Anti-MAME being made in 1958, I believe, was made 1 year before the Actors Equity and Screen Actors Guild, maybe a year before an agreement was signed with video sources that allowed for residuals. So no residuals. I still get residuals for the Twilight Zone, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of literally 7 cents, 22 cents.
Well, you should have had you as a lawyer. You would have helped yourself out.
I should go back and do it over again. Yes.
There you go. Jan Handzlik, who was the child star he played Patrick Dennis in Anti-Mame and went on to become a famous prosecutor and a famous defense attorney in Los Angeles. We saw you on TV and we reached out and thanks for indulging us and good luck down the road. And thanks for the walk down memory lane, sir. Have a happy New Year. Thanks for checking in.
My pleasure. Same to you.
You got it. Jan Handzlik is 1958, Anti-Mame. He played the young Patrick Dennis, went toe-to-toe with Rosalind Russell, and after Hollywood, as he said, he turned his back on Hollywood, became a defense attorney. So there you go. We're starting off our first guest of 2026. All right, stay right there. We'll be back in a minute. America at Night. Back in a moment.
Live from coast to coast, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
All right, so it's 2026, and here's a story for you to start the new year. Do you know what the poly markets are? Poly market is an app, a website, if you will, where you can place bets on anything. And last year on Poly Market, there was a bet that you could make on whether or not the second coming of Jesus was going to happen in 2025. And if you bet against Jesus' return to earth in 2025, you won, because from all accounts, Jesus did not return in 2025. And your profit for betting that Jesus did not return to earth was 5.5%. Most of the people voted no, but there was enough people voting yes that the percentage got to 5.5%. Across the year, $3.3 million was placed on the bet, will Jesus Christ return in 2025? If you bet no, you got 5.5% of your money back, plus the initial bet. America at Night, back in a moment.
You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the first night of the show for 2026. We look forward to a fun month of January, but it's still kind of the end of the holidays, and so we'll start fresh on Monday. Earlier in the week, the Wall Street Journal published a article about President Trump's health, and it was quite interesting for all the things that it said and all the things that it didn't say. One of the things was that they confused the MRI with a CT scan, and if we have time, we'll get into that a little bit later on in the segment. But also, it came out that he takes more aspirin than the doctors prescribe him to, and so we wanted to get a doctor on here to find out exactly what all that means. And not only did we find a doctor, we found one of the best. Dr. Fahmi Farah is with us. She is a doctor, but not only is she a doctor, she's a cardiologist. And you have seen her on NPR, NBC News, ABC News. She's been on Fox. She's worked with the United Nations. She's worked with the World Health Organization as well as UNICEF. Doctor, thanks for joining us here on America at Night.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
So let's talk about aspirins, because I always thought an aspirin a day was good as you got older to sort of ward off a heart attack. Is that still the case, or is it something else now?
No, it is. In the past, a lot of people used to be on aspirin, even without a reason to be on aspirin. But that thought has changed. We now ask aspirin to be taken only with a physician's recommendation. So it shouldn't be just taken by everybody. It should be individualized.
Interesting. So that was like old school. Back in the old days, you would take an aspirin a day.
Correct.
Yeah. Also, is it still true? I vaguely remember that if you take an aspirin after a heart attack or during a heart attack, isn't that also sort of helpful?
Oh, it absolutely is. Yes. Aspirin taken in the setting of a heart attack can be life-saving.
Interesting. And then after you've had a heart attack, do doctors prescribe an aspirin a day after a heart attack?
Yes. We do prescribe an aspirin a day after a heart attack, and you don't necessarily have to have a heart attack to take aspirin, as long as there are certain heart conditions, such as blockages present, certain pre-existing conditions, high-risk patients. They can also be on a daily aspirin.
One of the interesting things about this Trump thing, and I know you're not his doctor, so we're not talking about him per se, but a lot of people found it odd that he took so many aspirin and for so long. What are the side effects of taking too many aspirin?
The one that he's been reported of taking is the high-dose aspirin. It comes in 325 milligrams, and some of the risks with that one is GI-related, primarily bleeding. They can have increased risk of GI bleeding.
Any other side effects, or how dangerous is it for somebody to take too many aspirin?
The dose 325 milligrams is not necessarily to say that it's dangerous, but the major risk factor would be the increased risk of bleeding. One of the biggest ones being GI, but it could be other forms of bleeding as well. It does increase the propensity for skin bruising, for example, easy bruising. If you get a cut, you may bleed for longer than usual. Those are some of the most common risks associated with the higher dose aspirin.
Have you ever had a patient who took more aspirin than you told them to?
Typically, no.
Yeah. I mean, how often does a patient, tell the doctor, "Hey, thank you. I know you told me to take one every 10 hours, but I'm going to take 4 every 10 hours." I mean, how often does the patient sort of not listen to the doctor?
It's usually the other way around. Typically, we have a hard time getting patients to take enough of what we're asking them to take. They usually don't take more than what we ask them to, because most people don't like taking medications.
What is it? Let's talk about the heart in general. We often, because one of the things Trump said is that he doesn't like thick blood. He likes thin blood. Does an aspirin thin the blood?
It does. It does act as a blood thinner. So yes, it does thin the blood, and that's part of the reason why the risk of increased bleeding is there.
Interesting. What about like Eliquis? What's the benefit of Eliquis over an aspirin and or vice versa?
Eliquis is also a blood thinner. It's a different class of blood thinner, and actually Eliquis is a much stronger category of blood thinner. Typically, we use it for very specific scenarios. For instance, if somebody has a blood clot in their legs or arms or somewhere in their body, or even a blood clot in their lungs, that's used, Eliquis is used for dissolving that blood clot. Eliquis can also be used for stroke prevention in a certain subclass of patients who have a condition called atrial fibrillation. It's a type of arrhythmia. People who have it, they tend to form blood clots inside their heart, and that blood clot can then travel to the brain and cause a stroke. And so to prevent that from happening in those folks, we typically prescribe them Eliquis to thin their blood so that they can their risk of stroke can be minimized.
Let's
it
talk.
Is different
go ahead.
from
I'm sorry.
aspirin.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Let's talk about AFib for a second, because AFib seems to be everywhere. We see a lot of commercials advertising for Eliquis, which is AFib. But anecdotally, I know quite a number of people who are suffering from AFib. Has it been around? Is it something new? Why are so many people being diagnosed with it these days?
AFib is something that has been around for quite some time. It is not a new diagnosis necessarily, but yes, we are seeing an increased rate of atrial fibrillation, especially post-pandemic. So it's quite possible that the virus had a role in this increased rate. The other thing is usually in the past, we used to see atrial fibrillation more in the elderly folks. Nowadays, we're seeing them more and more in younger people as well.
Once you have AFib, can you, how do you get rid of it? Is there a way to get rid of it? How do you, besides taking Eliquis, is there a way to sort of get out of AFib?
There is. AFib is, there's a wide spectrum of treatments that are available for atrial fibrillation, and it is all dependent on how severe the atrial fibrillation is and what kind of symptoms the patient is having, as well as what kind of complications they are suffering as a result of the atrial fibrillation. So the spectrum goes, it could be as simple as just controlling their heart rate with an oral medication that is very simple. And it can go all the way to, shocking the heart to get them out of atrial fibrillation. If that doesn't work, then we can also do a procedure called ablation. It is an invasive procedure where we go and we basically burn off a piece of the heart, an area of the heart that's responsible for causing that arrhythmia. That's called ablation, and that can actually get rid of atrial fibrillation.
Are those? How well do those work?
They're fairly effective. They usually have about an 80% success rate.
Is it dangerous to stay in AFib for years, months, days? What's the long-term prognosis of it?
The long-term prognosis is actually not bad in atrial fibrillation. The main thing we worry about in atrial fibrillation is stroke. So as long as the patient is not symptomatic and they're being treated properly by blood thinners and their rate is controlled, then a person can stay in AFib for long periods of time without any issues. But if they have complications such as reduction in heart function, like if they have heart failure, those would be the reasons and times to get them out of atrial fibrillation by procedures like shocking the heart, medications, and or ablation.
It's really interesting. So we've seen an explosion of AFib after COVID-19. That's really interesting.
It is. In fact, after COVID-19, there's been an increased rate of heart disease across the spectrum.
Is it because we didn't do anything for 2 years, or is it some connection to COVID or some connection to the vaccine? Do we have any idea?
The thought is it's multifactorial. There is part of that, the risk factors went up in those couple of years, lifestyles changed, but also there's a thought that the virus itself is playing a role by damaging the cardiovascular system.
Really interesting, Doctor. So just so we're all on the same page here, because one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on the show, we wanted people to get the right information about an aspirin. Obviously, check with your doctor, but there is no need to just run out and start taking an aspirin. And an aspirin after a heart attack makes sense, but taking more aspirin than the doctor orders really doesn't do any benefits for you.
That is correct.
Yeah. It's kind of like me with like fertilizer on the lawn, right? A little bit of fertilizer is good. A lot of fertilizer is bad.
That's a very good analogy. I like that.
I only know that because I've done it. One Reese's Pieces is fine. 4 bags of Reese's Pieces, not that good of an idea. Dr. Fahmi Farah, medical doctor in Fort Worth, Texas. Of course, she is world-renowned cardiologist, and she's helped out the UN, the World Health Organization, UNICEF. She's been all over the place on Fox News, NPR, NBC News, ABC News. Doctor, thank you very much for your expertise. Happy New Year, and thanks for checking in.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
You got it. America at Night, back in a moment.
From the heart of America, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, even though you're taking a couple days off, the news never stops. Thanks for joining us, McGraw Milhaven, America at Night. Some news on Tesla. Tesla's stock still sky high, up over $400 a share, even though it was announced today that Tesla vehicle sales have declined for the second consecutive year, and they are no longer the world's largest electric vehicle maker. That distinction falls to Chinese competitor BYD. Elon Musk's company Tesla, no longer the largest EV maker in the world. Tesla's sales are critical to funding Musk's AI ambitions, including human robots and self-driving cars. But for the numbers, Tesla delivered 1.4 million in 2025. That was down 9%. Vehicle sales fell 20,000 short of the 44,000 that were expected in the fourth quarter. Also, sales suffered because of Elon Musk's political ties, right? He was once the darling of the left, right? I've never seen a man so revered by the left, reviled by the right, and then jeered by the left and championed by the right. Now, I don't know where he is on the spectrum. I don't know if I'm supposed to like him or I'm supposed to hate him. He's now back, I guess, in the Trump camp in some way, shape, or form. But it's went from very much against, right? The liberals loved Elon Musk, and now they're very much against him, and vice versa. So vehicle sales for Tesla not doing very well. Also, by the way, listen to this. In Norway, 96% of all the cars registered in 2025, 96% of the cars in Norway last year were electric vehicles. Now, that's amazing. Now, we also should say that there are a number of tax incentives for people to buy the electric vehicle, but 96% of the new cars registered in Norway were electric vehicles. Now, that's interesting. And then did you see the story in the New York Times where China right now has a company that sells more EV cars than anybody else in the world? But Africa, at one point in Cape Town, their solar or their energy was all on coal-burning plants. Well, last year, solar has risen from almost nothing in 2019 to 10% in South Africa's electricity generating capacity. No longer is South Africa depending on giant coal-burning plants because solar panels are so cheap, thanks to China investing in them. They are now able to sell them in Africa. And so Africa is embracing solar technology to the point where they're ramping up their solar panels while the United States is ramping up our fossil fuel. A really interesting story about how South Africa is now very much, or China is very much sending these much more cost-effective solar panels to South Africa. So South Africa's gain, China's gain, the United States kind of being left behind in all of that. I thought that was kind of interesting. We'll find a story about that at some point. And then, lastly, before we head out for the top of the hour, and then next hour we'll check in with Bill on the road and Theo with Hollywood Exec for a Day. I've been following this story of the club in Switzerland, where now they're saying some 40 people may have died in this New Year's Eve party, and survivors were flown on helicopters and jets to specialized hospitals throughout Switzerland. The number of people with severe burns exceeds the capacity of the country's burn units. Some patients had to be transported to hospitals in France, Germany, and Italy. That's how much of a crisis this was. The 40 people were killed, more than 100 others were injured, And it was total and complete panic. People were trampling each other as they tried to get away. And apparently what they're saying is that it all started from a sparkler that when you're bringing the champagne to the table and you've got a little sparkler that sort of sets off the mood for the New Year's Eve celebration, somehow that sparkler caught fire and it went up so fast, so furious that people couldn't get out. People started trampling each other, and 40 people have died as a result. More than 100 people are injured. And the fact that they had to transfer these people to different countries, they had so many burns victims that they had to go to France, Germany, and Italy. Now, I have been to this part of the world. A year or 2, 3 years ago, I was in Zermatt, Switzerland, one of the most beautiful places you'll ever seen, with beautiful views of the Matterhorn. This Crans, Montana, is this alpine ski resort that overlooks the views of the Matterhorn. It's some of the most beautiful country of the world that God has ever created. And it's a very hot spot for jet setters and famous people and all that type of stuff. Horrible, horrible story. So we keep them in our prayers as we start 2026. But it's just a terrible story. All right, stay right there. If you ever get a chance, Zermatt, by the way, take a day or two and go to Zermatt. It is a beautiful part of the world. Stay right there. Tonight, our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, welcome back. Hour number 2. A little bit later on, where you get to Theo Lewis Clark, Hollywood exec for a day. We're also going to check in with Bill on the road, who was in California for the Rose Bowl parade, the wet and soggy Rose Bowl parade. We'll see what Bill got into trouble with over this last week or so. And then we're off and running with open phones in hour number 3. Speaking of Los Angeles, did you know that in Los Angeles, when you rent an apartment, that it did not come with a stove or a refrigerator until today? Because Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law a new state law that starts today. And starting today, when you rent an apartment in California, the apartment now must come with a working refrigerator and a working stove. Who knew? Right? That's bizarre. I guess like a washer and dryer, right? Some apartments don't come with a washer and dryer. Some have them in the basement. Some have washer dryer hookups. But you have to bring your own washer and dryer. I know that's a thing oftentimes in the Midwest, or you know, they sort of say, hey, washer and dryer, in-unit washer and dryer as an added incentive to sort of rent the place. But in California, landlords did not have to supply a working stove or a refrigerator until starting today. And so people would move out to California, rent an apartment, and they'd walk in, and there was no stove and there was no refrigerator. There was a stove hookup or a refrigerator hookup, but no stove and no refrigerator. They considered it a luxury. And so there was a whole bunch of people who had to go to Craigslist or Facebook or the guy down the street and carry your refrigerator on your back into your, right? You had people who owned their own refrigerator but didn't own their own home. And when they moved, they took the refrigerator with them to their next apartment. That is a bizarre story. Did anybody see the Chevy Chase documentary on CNN? I watched some of it. I did not watch all of it. I got to tell you, I was watching it, and I am certainly not the biggest Chevy Chase fan. But he's iconic, right? I mean, I've enjoyed his movies. I don't mean that as negative. I just he was he's got silly movies, and I watched them and I enjoyed them. I don't know if I would put, I missed the Saturday night. I was just too young for the Saturday Night Live bits, and so. But I've only sort of known Chevy Chase from sort of the stories, right? That he was kind of a jerk to work with, and he had some issues, and he had some depression, and so I started watching this CNN documentary, and I got to tell you, it was very heartbreaking. I don't know if he's misunderstood or if his brand of humor is just going unnoticed or unrecognized. But a very complicated man with a very complicated history. To his credit, he sat down and, warts and all, told his side of his story. And I'm looking forward to going back and watching it some more. But it is not for the faint of heart, and they do not gloss over the more difficult parts of his life and the more difficult parts of his story. This is a full-blown documentary on the good, the bad, and the ugly of Chevy Chase. Heartbreaking childhood, absolutely heartbreaking childhood, and had a very, very abusive mother, and had a very difficult childhood. And, a lot of people say that shaped his comedy. But if you had a chance to see it, they don't hold any punches, and he's right there answering the questions. You got to give him credit for sitting there and answering the questions. They talk to his wife and his children, and they talk about the more difficult times. It's heart-wrenching in times, just absolutely heart-wrenching. But I haven't watched all of it. What I've seen, highly recommend it. All right, stay right there. When we come back, we're going to check in with Theo Lewis Clark, Hollywood exec for a day, and then Bill on the road, America at Night. We're just getting started. Back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Join the nightly conversation. America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
All right, let's get right to it. It's Friday night, and every Friday night we check in with our entertainment guru, Theo Lewis Clark, who is our Hollywood executive just for a day, mind you, every Friday. We have Alex is on the line. Alex, are you there?
I am, yeah. I'm ready to go.
All right, Alex is our executive producer. We've got Richard Good, who is our engineer. Richard, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, turn yourself down a little bit, Richard. You're a little too overmodulated. And then, of course, we have Theo Lewis Clark. Theo, are you there?
Absolutely, 100%.
Theo, good to have you. Happy New Year. Okay, here's how the game is played. It's called Hollywood Exec for a Day. And Theo Lewis Clark has come up with 3 projects that he will tell us about, 2 of which are actual movies that have been greenlit by actual Hollywood executives. The other one has come from his creative mind. We have to determine, as a staff, each one of us will pick the one that is fake, whereas the other 2 are real. And then at the end, Theo will introduce us to which of us is right and which of us is wrong. It's more or less, remember the old what's my line game? It's the right, and I'm the Kitty Carroll of what's my line, and I think these guys are the Joe Graziola. All right, Theo Lewis Clark,
yes.
Hollywood exec for a day. Take it away.
That's exactly how it goes. Lest we be remiss if we didn't say that we stumped you guys last week. So nobody guessed last week, correct? That's how it went down.
That is correct. You stumped the class last week.
Of course I did. So let's get into it. Is it number 1? An American archaeologist finds a strange creature in Peru, brings it home, gives it a name, but he's unprepared for the chaos that ensues when the beast begins to mutate. And things get a little more complicated when a con man steals the creature, Richard. Okay? Or is it number 2, when a small town diner's antique cash register is stolen, Along with the donations meant for the local animal rescue shelter, Lily the waitress teams up with a retired rodeo horse and a mischievous rescue puppy to chase the thieves down, Alex. Or is it number 3? He's on the run from the law, so he hides in the circus as a performer who throws knives with his feet. Having full use of his arms, he conceals them because the double thumb he has on his left hand would identify him immediately. But that's a good thing because he's secretly in love with the circus owner's daughter who has a phobia of a man touching her and cannot stand being touched. Oh, yeah. It's called 2 stumps in a row, 2 weeks in a row. You guys are not going to get this. So
all right,
is it
Alex.
The archaeologist and the creature who mutates? Is it the waitress, the horse, and the puppy chase down the thieves? Or is it the knife-throwing dude with his feet in the circus? You have no idea, Alex.
Alex, you'll be first up this evening.
Yeah,
I have no idea. So I think I'm going to have to just take a stab in the dark and I'm going to go with the knife throwing guy because that one to me just
can't be real.
It seems like it can't be real. If it is real, I'll be shocked.
Okay. So you say, wait, Alex says number 3, right?
Yeah, the knife throwing guy with his feet.
Yeah, I'm going with number 3, the knife thrower.
Okay. Alex says number 3. Richard, what do you say?
I gotta go with the waiter, the horse, and the donkey. The whole group of animals that are chasing down the thieves. That's the one for me.
It could be an animation. It could be a cartoon, Richard.
Now, hold on a second. What's number 2 again? Tell us number 2 again.
Okay, a small-town diner's antique cash register gets stolen, along with the donations meant for the local animal rescue shelter. Lily, the waitress, she teams up with a retired rodeo horse and a mischievous rescue puppy to chase the thieves down.
All right. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with what's number 1 again? Tell me number one again.
That's the American archaeologist. He found that strange creature in Peru, brought it home, gave it a name, but then chaos ensues because the beast begins to mutate. Things get a little more complicated because a con man steals the creature and wants to benefit from him. You guys have no clue.
I'm going to say I don't have a clue. I'm going to say number 3. The man with 2 left thumbs ends up throwing knives with his feet. I'm going to say I'm with Alex. That sounds one step beyond crazy. So I'm going to say number 3.
Okay, cool. No one chose number 1. The American archaeologist found the strange creature in Peru and brings it home and all that. So that's a real movie. That's from 1987. It's called Munchies. And guess who it stars, McGraw? Because these other 2 guys won't know. Harvey Korman of Carol Burnett show fame. Remember Harvey Korman?
Yeah.
He always broke character because Carol Burnett always made him laugh. That was Saturday Night Live before Saturday Night Live was the Carol Burnett show. Okay. So is it Richard?
Wait a minute. What was the name? Mm-hmm. What was the name of the Harvey Korman movie?
Oh, it's called 1987, The Munchies. It was
the Munchies. The
Munchies.
The
Munchies.
The
name of the creature. Yeah, the archaeologist named the creature a Munchie, and so Munchies. You got to go look it up. It's weird.
All right. Okay.
I knew you guys wouldn't guess that one. So is it Richard winning alone, or is it McGraw and Alex taking it with number 3? So he's on the run from the law. So he hides in the circus as a performer who throws knives with his feet. Having full use of his arms, he conceals them because the double thumb he has on his left hand would identify him immediately, but that's a good thing because he's secretly in love with the circus owner's daughter who has a phobia of a man touching her. Well, that's a real movie called in 1927 called The Unknown, which means Richard is the lone winner. Small town diners, antique cash register stolen, along with the donations meant for the local animal rescue shelter. That's in Theo's world called Give That Back. The animals need that money. Way to go, Richard. That was out of my mind.
The Unknown. The Unknown.
The Unknown is the 1927 movie. It starred Lon Chaney and Joan Crawford, no less.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are real stars.
Those are real stars. So in entertainment, we got a few things. Of course, tomorrow we got some NFL games, Seahawks and 49ers, Panthers and Buccaneers. Many teams have clinched their playoff berth, so some haven't. So we're going into Week 18. HBO Max has got a weird one. I like it. It's called It's Florida, Man. So it's real-life stories of weird people in Florida doing crazy things, but it's acted by actors. So they act out the real stuff that actually happened from the headlines. And then Apple TV Plus got a brand-new series starring the newly knighted Idris Elba. Of course, King just knighted him for his work with young people in London. And he's in this new show called The Hijack. It's great. It's on Apple TV Plus. I already saw the first couple of episodes. Very riveting. So, way to go, Richard. I'm proud of you, Richard.
Thank you.
Idris Elba is a great story.
He
came over
the next James Bond, actually.
Well, actually, that's a no-brainer. He came over from England to America, and his first job, I want to say, he was a bouncer at a comedy club in New York, and
then he got The Wire.
And then ultimately he ended up as Stringer Bell on The Wire. That was his sort of breakout role. But
and then many more movies after that. Many more movies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's a DJ and a race car driver.
Check him out. He's a decent DJ.
A race car driver as well. Renaissance man. Now he's a knight. Now he's Sir Idris Elba to you, McGraw.
Oh, well, yeah. No, there you go. But no, Idris Elba's as a matter of fact, speaking of The Wire, do you know who just died? Do you remember the corrupt city council member who was in The Wire?
I didn't watch it then.
Oh my goodness, The Wire. Theo, The Wire is that's one of the best. That's one of the best TV shows ever created. But
it just perpetuates too many things I don't dig, so I can't watch it.
What were you saying, Theo? Or what were you saying, Richard?
Fun fact for you: it's a radio host in the DMV named Larry King. One of the characters on The Wire is portrayed after him in real life.
Wow.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Javante Tank Davis, his boxing coach, is actually the boxing coach that's on The Wire too.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Portrayed in The Wire. Yep.
Interesting. All right, good. All right, that's good. Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. All right, Theo Lewis Clark. Happy New Year. We'll check in with you next Friday. Good stuff.
Hey, you too, man. See you guys next Friday.
You got it. There you go. Theo Lewis Clark. Richard, the big winner today. Alex and me, we're on the wrong end of that one. That is for sure. Will the real movie stand up?
Not trusting animals or criminals.
Richard let's face it, that was a guess, Richard.
Hey, that was a needle in a haystack. But I was thinking it was giving Dr. Doolittle, so I had to. I don't know.
A knife thrower with your feet because you got double thumbs, starring Lon Chaney and Joan Crawford.
Joan Crawford. I knew you weren't going to get that one. That was
holy mackerel. That one's crazy. All right, Theo Lewis Clark, have yourself a good day. All right, coming up after the bottom of the hour break, we're going to check in with Bill Cloven, Bill on the run. But Richard, hold on a second. I got about a minute here. What were you saying about The Wire? The boxing guy in The Wire? I remember him. He was a great actor. What were you saying?
So that's actually Javante Davis' boxing coach. That's his portrayal. So he was actually he used to be in the streets. He used to be a well-known drug dealer in Baltimore, and he got his life together and he started teaching boxing at the Upton Boxing, which is still on Pennsylvania Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland. And he coached Javante Davis since he was like 7 years old.
And so that was the boxing coach of this guy.
And on The Wire, yep.
Yeah, that actor was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was, right, he went to jail, cleaned himself up, tried to get the kids off the streets and set up a boxing gym. Yeah.
True story.
That Wire is so good on so many different levels. And then, of course, you had the preacher who was one of the, right, he was a drug dealer turned straight, and he was sort of the moral conscience of the show. He would come in and sort of, bring God into all these conversations. It was an extraordinary series. Anyway, the city council member who was the corrupt city council member passed away. I forget his name. I'll check it on the bottom of the hour break. All right, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Theo. Bill on the road. Friday night, America at Night. Back in a moment.
Relax. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Relax. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
All right, late night conversation. Let's clean up from the last segment. Okay, we're talking about The Wire and the actor who died. The actor's name is Isaiah Whitlock Jr. He played Senator Clay Davis. He died this past week at the age of 71. And he was in a couple of other shows. He was in a character actor, and everybody says the nicest man you'd ever want to meet. But he played some pretty creepy characters. He was in Veep. He was in The Wire, and his real name was Isaiah Whitlock, and he played Clay Davis. Now, we had some little confusion. The character, Clay Davis, was loosely based on a radio personality named Larry Young. Larry Young is a well-known radio personality in the Baltimore area, was a former member of the Maryland State House of Representatives, and then was expelled for corruption. Now, this Clay Davis character on The Wire was loosely based on this former state senator, Larry Young, who went on to become a radio host, who actually played a radio host in one of the episodes on The Wire. So there we go. We got a lot. We got a lot wrong on that last segment, but we were kind of in the ballpark. All right, so let's move on. Bill Cleveland is our traveling guru, and last week he was in New Mexico. This week he was headed to Pasadena to check out the Rose Bowl parade. I watched, Bill Cleveland, quite a bit of that Rose Bowl parade. I looked for you. I couldn't find you, but there was a whole lot of rain. How bad was it?
Well, you may have to revoke my status as guru if I ever say I'm going to go cover a parade again. Okay, I'm putting that on you, McGraw. From now till the end of time, if you ever hear me say I'm going to a parade, you go, oh no, you can't do that. Well, so here's the deal. They've had this parade, this Rose parade. In Pasadena for like 130 years. It's only rained and barely rained, really, like 10 times. Okay, and most of those were just a little sprinkle here or there. I think they've had one or two washouts. So leave it to me to show up and cover the Rose Parade on the year that it just freaking pours. And what you saw on television, because I saw a rerun of it later in the day here in Los Angeles, and there are times where it does look like it's kind of sunny and it's kind of nice, but what people don't know is 30 minutes before that parade started at 8 a.m. Pacific time, I mean, the heavens unleashed, and everybody just got soaked. And so yeah, it was a wet mess.
I watched quite a bit of it actually on the television, and it looks like the
That's where I should have been watching it on the television.
The convertibles all had their tops up, and you couldn't really see anybody riding in the cars.
No, exactly, and then Magic Johnson was. The head of the parade. You saw a magic hand. That's what you saw at the parade. You didn't see him. It was just a stinking mess. And honestly, as uncomfortable and as annoying as it was, I felt really bad for the kids who they work so hard to, those marching bands, and they're so excited. They raise money, and they get to come out to California and be part of this thing, and wah. They got to put the ponchos on, and so now the floats themselves. Because they are all made of flowers, the floats didn't mind too much.
Yeah.
They actually spruced up a little bit because of the rain. Yeah, but no, I knew I was in trouble because so you check in Tuesday. I checked in to pick up my pass at the you go to the Wrigley Mansion. I don't know if you've ever been out to Pasadena, but the Wrigley Mansion, which was like one of 5 mansions that William Wrigley had, the bubblegum guy. Yeah. A beautiful home right on the Orange Avenue in Pasadena. And when his wife finally passed away, she donated that home to the city of Pasadena with the rule that it had to be turned into the headquarters of the Rose Parade. So for, whatever it's been, 100 years, or maybe not quite 100 years, that's where the headquarters of the Rose Parade have been. And so, so you go in and you check in, and so I get my pass, and the guy says, okay, well, here's where you'll be seated. Oh, and by the way, you can't bring an umbrella. And I was like, what do you mean? It's going to be pouring. He goes, you'll be wet. Oh, well, thanks. Well, the Pasadena welcome wagon, you're gonna get soaked. And then he hands me, and by the way, this is not, they were very, very nice people, but he hands me this poncho from the dollar store and says, well, here you go. You'll be fine. I just, oh my God. So if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do it in the rain.
You can't open up an umbrella because the four people behind you can't see. So this, right? You were
four
sitting
people. There were one person behind me. There was nobody there. It was, and honestly, I did a little. So when you travel as much as I do, like your social media feeds don't know what to pick up on. So like I get social media stuff from all over the country. Facebook doesn't know what city I'm in half the time. And so I was picking up some stuff from locally, like in Pasadena, and I was reading some of the comments from locals who were saying that I have never seen Colorado Avenue as empty the night before as it was on New Year's Eve. And so just kind of a bummer all the way around.
Did you get to go to the park and see the floats up close in the park before or after?
I planned on doing that yesterday, but here's a surprise. It rained the entire day. And so I didn't get to get real close and see that. My favorite float, if I had to pick one, was the one from Visit Mississippi that had the Kermit the Frog. I'm a huge Jim Henson fan. I've loved Kermit the Frog since I was a kid. So that probably would have been my favorite.
Yeah.
And the bands were good. Here's what I could do without, and I sound like a crotchety old guy, I guess now, but it's the performances. Like I don't need to see the hip hop performances or the songs, and like let the people with the horses and the floats and the bands do their thing. I wasn't a fan of kind of the songs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, give me a good marching band in a parade any day. That's the best.
Absolutely.
And then when I was there a couple years ago, we're going back, I guess, 10 years or so ago, Downton Abbey had a float, and it was spectacular. The cobblestone road was made of potatoes, and it was just. I went to the park and looked at it up close. It was exquisite. The attention to detail with all these flowers and nuts and potato. I mean, it was just extraordinary. And you have to go back. You have to go back.
Yeah, and here's the deal. My dad would tell you this. He and his girlfriend and their family, they love parades. There's no parade they won't go to. I do not like parades. I'm not going to a parade. However, just like because of what you just said, the uniqueness of the Rose Parade, where all of these floats have to be covered in flowers, to me, that was really, really intriguing, and one of the reasons, maybe the only reason, that I wanted to go out and see it in person. So if I know it's going to be sunny, maybe I'll try again.
Yeah, all right. Well, while you're there, you went from a rainy parade to some cemeteries?
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but I used to live in Southern California. Graduated in Corona High School, which is in Riverside County, maybe 30 minutes from Disneyland, to kind of give you some perspective. And so I've been coming out to California for forever and spending time out here. And so, but there's always something that you haven't done. And so one of the things that I had never really done, Forest Lawn. I don't know if you've heard of Forest Lawn. It's a famous cemetery. They have a handful of locations, but Glendale, California, and the Hollywood Hills are kind of their two most popular locations. And McGraw, they're massive, massive cemeteries, and they're beautiful. And so I decided to go and spend most of today actually just walking through. And there's actually a few museums where they have beautiful artwork, and then of course they have cemeteries. Obviously, not everybody's a famous person, but I did find a few. Jimmy Stewart found his grave. Matthew Perry, Perry Fisher, Bob Newhart, Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor has got a gravesite. It is inside this mausoleum. Is it called a mausoleum? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, mausoleum.
Yeah.
Mausoleum, yeah.
Mausoleum, excuse me. Yeah, and it was this gigantic thing in there. I was happy I found the grave of Lou Rawls. That was one of my favorite singers. I love Lou Rawls.
You'll never
Betty
find.
Davis, Liberace. That's right. You'll never find another love like mine. So so it's kind of fun if you enjoy just something a little unique, and you can find some of your favorite stars. John Ritter was one. Bob Barker. It was a bunch of them at Forest Lawn, and really the views are it's a pretty hilly cemetery. At one time, I was told it was actually the biggest attraction in the Los Angeles area before Disneyland opened up.
Going and visiting the cemetery.
Visiting the cemeteries and seeing where the stars had their final resting place. Yeah.
Now, forgive me. Was there like a map to the stars' grave sites that you went, or did you just walk down the aisles and happen to come across Jimmy Stewart?
Well, so I had to do a little research. So there are some that you can find, as simple as looking on your Google GPS, right? So, and Jimmy Stewart actually was one. And so you kind of look like an idiot because you're looking at your phone and you're walking 12 steps this way, and then nope, the blue dot's going the other way. Got to go this way, and you're trying to find where the stinking thing is. And so I found some that way, and then others, I was just kind of doing some research online. Some of them I just found accidentally. The Lou Rawls one, I was looking for something else and thought, oh, hey, look at that, Lou Rawls. So it's really kind of a fun, like a little scavenger hunt. I found the grave of Walt Disney, which was very just low key, no fanfare. It's just kind of his name on a plaque, and he was cremated, so his ashes are there.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Strangely compelling. I never would have done that, but now that you're talking about it, I don't think I'd do it. But it's actually it's kind of strangely compelling in a weird way.
What's most interesting is most of these, they're not all. So like Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds had this pretty big, kind of tomb thing. But like when you like a Jimmy Stewart or a Bob Newhart or Bob Barker, John Ritter was one. They're just real small plaques in the ground, like nothing fancy. No real ego. Liberace had one that was freaking gigantic, as you might imagine. Betty Davis had one that was, huge. But most of them were just kind of plain Jane, not many frills. Yeah.
You mentioned Matthew Perry. I'm sure that one still breaks your heart. So young and the way he died, but. Was his plain? Was his just very, I don't want to say average, but just sort of plain, sort of
it was
pedestrian?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that. So when I was walking around, there were other people that were there kind of doing what I was doing, and someone came up and said, hey, have you found the Matthew Perry, site? And I said, yeah, I just did. I said, actually, it was kind of sad because it was so plain, and he was on like kind of the lower level of this little atrium area, and no fanfare, a couple of flags. It was just really sad to see his for sure.
Yeah.
But seriously, it was really neat walking around there today.
All right, Bill Cleveland, spending the week in Southern California. What's on tap for next week? And it was raining.
And it was raining on me.
What's on tap next week?
I am headed to Palm Springs, so I'll hopefully have some good stuff to share with you from Palm Springs. Beautiful Palm Springs.
Palm Springs, very very modern, right? Very very mid-century modern Palm Springs. Is that correct?
Yes. Palm Springs is known for its mid-century modern architecture. Frank Sinatra had a place out there. A lot of famous people had homes out there. Marilyn Monroe lived out there. If I can, I will get a photo of me underneath Marilyn Monroe's legs in the gigantic Marilyn Monroe statue that is in downtown Palm Springs, and I will send that to you. We can share it with the audience. It is a sight to behold. You see Marilyn and her gigantic bloomers. Anybody that's been to Palm Springs has seen this thing. Kind of a fun sight.
Funny you mentioned that. I was in Minneapolis a couple years ago, and somebody said, you have to go find the Mary Tyler Moore statue. And I went and found the Mary Tyler Moore statue where she throws the hat up in the air. It's right there on the corner. I found it. By golly, I found it.
So
stuff.
You've seen that. So the Maryland one, it's like 10 times that size. It's gigantic. And you see it all, McGraw. You see it all.
I want to hear Frank Sinatra stories next week. So find me a good Frank Sinatra story. That is
All right, will do.
Bill Cleveland, BillOnTheRoad.com. BillOnTheRoad.com. Coming from not sunny Southern California, rain-soaked Pasadena, California. Bill, Happy New Year. Thanks for checking in, and we'll talk to you next Thursday. Back to our regular schedule next Thursday.
All right, sounds good. Happy New Year.
BillOnTheRoad.com. That's the website, BillOnTheRoad.com. You can follow his musings on BillOnTheRoad.com. America at Night, back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven, where the nation comes to talk.
I'll leave you with this. Macaroni and cheese. It's what got me through college. And now that I have a 5-year-old, you ask her what she wants for dinner. She says macaroni and cheese. Well, Kraft Heinz, the makers of macaroni and cheese, whether it's the powdered cheese or the real liquid cheese that comes in the packet that you cut the top off and you sort of add it to it. Well, believe it or not, there are now people, Wall Street Journal had a story that Kraft is facing a dilemma. They have stayed with the tried and true, and they're now getting some competition. Somebody is trying to move in on Kraft's macaroni and cheese. Their new CEO told the Wall Street Journal this week that it has to meet the moment. Listen to this, and it plans to spend $60 million to boost Kraft macaroni and cheese in 2026. They're talking about rolling out a higher protein and a higher fiber variety. Who knew that there was a war going on, that there was a macaroni and cheese war going on? Holy mackerel. Macaroni and cheese has been dominated by Kraft for years and years and years. It goes all the way back to the very beginning when I'm going to run out of time here. I can't. Kraft macaroni and cheese first sold in 1937 for 19 cents a box. It was created by a Chicago cheese mogul named James Kraft. He got his start selling cheese from a horse-drawn wagon. And that was the beginning of Kraft macaroni and cheese. But they're getting ready for a redo. How about that news? Hey, our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. Open phones next hour. Stay right there. I'm McGraw Milhaven, and this is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
All right, we're back. The first show of 2026. I know it feels like it's the last show of 2025, but it is the first show of 2026, and it's open phones. So the hour is all yours. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Those are the phone numbers. And we've had quite an interesting show tonight. We've had just about a little bit of everything. We had we had Jan Handzlik, who is a former prosecutor, famous defense attorney in Los Angeles, but you might remember him as Patrick Dennis, who was the child actor in the 1958 movie Auntie Mame, which was the musical. And then they had the non-musical, or I got that backwards, with Lucille Ball, which, oddly enough, I saw that Lucille Ball movie, Mame, in Radio City Music Hall when I was a kid. Somehow, some way, they took us into the city, and they were showing Mame at Radio City Music Hall when it was, I guess they converted it from the theater to a movie theater, and now it's back to a theater. But anyway, they had it as a movie theater, and we saw Mame with Lucille Ball at Radio City Music Hall as a kid. Anyway, we talked to him, and then we talked with Bill on the road, who was in Pasadena for the Rose Bowl parade. We also talked to Theo Lewis Clark, and then we talked to a cardiologist about aspirin when it comes to your heart. So we got all that, and now it's your phone calls, whatever you want to talk about. Tell us, how was Christmas? How was New Year's? Did you enjoy it? I went to bed early, put a Kevlar vest on so I didn't get hit by a falling bullet, and I was able to survive. Kind of joking, but not really. There are people who have died on Christmas and New Year's Eve because of bullets falling from the sky. So that is no joke. So we'll talk about anything you want to. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Paul in Boise. Thanks for holding on, Paul in Boise. You were on America at Night.
As usual, a stellar show you put on tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, last week you talked about The Untouchables, the movie with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner.
Yeah, De Niro and everybody, yeah.
Yeah, and what you didn't have time to talk about, I would assume, would be The Untouchables, the television program that was introduced by Walter Winchell. Do you recall Walter Winchell?
Well, I know. I know the
radio.
I know the radio. So there was a radio show called The Untouchables with Walter Winchell.
That's probably where it got the idea to put it on television. And to mention Auntie Mame, the producers of that was Desi Lou Productions, which was
Lucille
Ball and Desi Arnaz.
Yeah. Well, the Untouchables, the movie came out the late '80s, but the TV show. Wasn't it? Yeah, wasn't it? Wasn't it? It was based on Elliot Ness wrote a book or something, right? That was the whole idea. That's how the TV show came to be. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was another actor that did that show.
Yeah. Well, the book. Right now, Elliot Ness, from, if memory serves me right, that book was, even though it was considered nonfiction, should have been put in the fiction aisle, because a lot of that was sort of made up and sort of as a marketing ploy on the part of Elliot Ness. But, it was a great movie. I don't remember much of the TV show, but I remember the movie.
I didn't watch that until it was about 83, the first time I ever got to watch it. And it came on at midnight. So I was staying up way past my bedtime to get to that show. And I'll tell you what, that was one of the best shows of all time. Especially on Walter Winchell do the narration.
Yeah.
He did the Elliot Ness went to Chicago on the east side. And
the TV show.
They show him getting in the car with Rico.
The TV show was Robert Stack, right? Who ended up doing? Wasn't that the guy who did?
Yeah.
He ended up doing what was the not The Untouchables, but. What was the TV show he did where Unsolved Mysteries?
Unsolved Mysteries, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had quite the voice too, but Walter Winchell he fired your imagination when you heard him talk.
Well, that was yeah. Hey, Paul in Boise, thanks for checking in. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night. Bye.
Gil in San Antonio. Gil, welcome to America at Night. Thanks for joining us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay. One of your last shows, you had the author of a book that talked about General MacArthur and General Wainwright. I spent a lot of time the last 25 years in the Philippines, and the headquarters on Corregidor has been preserved like a national park, and it's exactly the way it was in 1942, along with some special sound effects and lighting and what have you. It's a full-day trip because Corregidor is an island. There's one interesting backstory, if I try to make it quick. You remember the Smothers Brothers, I'm sure.
Yes, I do.
They were in Manila when the Japanese attacked. Their father was an army officer, a major, and he got them on a special ship to get dependents out of harm's way. There was Tom and Dick, an infant sister, and their mom. So I thought that that might. Who would have thought that the Smothers Brothers were in Manila when the Japanese attacked?
So before they were the Smothers Brothers, they were in the military and just happened to be in the area when the Doolittle raids happened?
No, when the Japanese attacked the Philippines, Manila.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So they were in Manila when that happened.
Yes,
wow.
Their dad was a major. He was taken prisoner and he died in Japanese captivity.
I didn't know that about the Smothers Brothers. Their father died while in the military as a prisoner.
Yeah, he was in the death march, and he was being transported back to Japan to work in slave labor. And the ship he was on was actually torpedoed by an American submarine. They didn't know that there were prisoners on the ship. Rather tragic.
How about that story? Gil, good insight. Thank you, sir. Have yourself a good night. Thanks for checking in. Happy New Year. Look forward to talking to you more in 2026.
Thank you.
You got it.
Bye-bye.
Gil in San Antonio always comes up. That's a nice little nugget of information. Hey, the S&P 500 just completed one of the best 3-year runs it has ever had. It was rising. Listen to this. The S&P 500 has risen 80% from the start of 2023 through December 31st. The S&P 500 is up 80% since the start of 2023. So all of 2023, 24, and all of 25. So 3 years. It's up 80%. By the way, again, I said this earlier in the show. When I give you advice, if you want to make money, do the opposite and you will be on easy street. Do not listen to any financial advice that I give you. Wall Street thinks, according to the Wall Street Journal, Wall Street thinks the party is just getting started. Few expect the good times to keep rolling indefinitely. They asked 5 investors on the Wall Street Journal where you put your money in 26. One sector said facing a reckoning is the grocery aisle. They said, the grocery aisle is going to be hit hard in 2026. But AI, artificial intelligence. There's also a lot of people who are saying that because we're going to get such big, fat tax returns, because the lifting of the SALT tax limitations, right? They would only write off $10,000. That's been lifted. The tax brackets being what they are, the big, beautiful bill. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to be surprised by the larger tax return. And so many people are saying that is going to fuel at least the first half of 2026. But the S&P 500 completed one of the best 3-year runs ever, rising over 80% in the last 3 years. All right, it's open phones, 1-844-2McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. We have a couple of phone calls now that Gil and Paul have passed on. I don't mean passed on, have cycled through, if you will. 1-844-2McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. America at Night, back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Welcome to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
All right, welcome back. Here are the phone numbers, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. It's Friday night, and we are hanging out together. So what are you doing? Give me a call. Tell me what you're thinking. What's on your mind? What are you thinking? Something crazy, something silly, something very deep, something very whimsical. The hour is all yours. We can talk about whatever you want because it's open phones, and I'm going to do everything I can to sort of keep this hour open phones for everybody so that we can keep it going because it's actually quite fun. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. I should mention that come Monday on the show, I know when last we left you, which was, days get all confused because the middle of the week, you take 2 days off. Oh, that would have been Tuesday night open phones. We got into a discussion, and I think people got angry with me. I'm not quite sure why they were yelling at me, but a lot of this conversation about what's going on in Minneapolis came up on the show. And so on Monday, we're going to talk to a political analyst who is a political analyst for WCCO in Minneapolis. He's going to join us. And so we're going to hear straight from the ground in Minneapolis. What's the latest in this whole controversy? What's real? What's fake? What's fake news? What's real? What's going on? What's the latest? And how bad is it? And what about this video? And how much can we trust this guy? And what about these other daycares and everything else? We were talking about it, and I guess some people got angry with me because I have a somewhat hefty dose of skepticism anytime it comes to anything like this. And we started talking about daycares in general, and people were convinced, these... again, I don't know, and I don't want to start this controversy again, but I think it's important to at least acknowledge that daycares in the 21st century are like lockdowns, right? They're on lockdown. And when I would go pick up my little one from the daycare, you would buzz, they would look at you, and then they would, if they knew who you were, they would let you in. If they didn't, they would come to the door and, like, through the glass say, "Can I help you?" Right? They would never unlock the door for a stranger. They have children inside. And oftentimes when I would go to pick her up, sometimes they'd be in the back in the playground. Sometimes they'd be in the art department. Sometimes they'd be in their classroom. And so, right, oftentimes it looked like there was nobody there, but the kids were in the classroom or the kids were out. So, and then the person answering the door is, anyway, there's lots of reasons why that video could have been manipulated. So Monday on the show, we're going to go and talk to somebody from Minneapolis who is well-respected, well-trusted. So that's the plan for Monday as we start with the show. So other interesting news that has sort of made the news here at the end of the year, start of the new year, is that Warren Buffett has retired from Berkshire Hathaway. And for those who know Warren Buffett, it is a heck of a story. And here is a man who, with no disrespect to Warren Buffett, is a marketing genius. He is marketed himself as the affable billionaire, right? The absent-minded billionaire, the very whimsical, folksy billionaire. And in the 1960s, he bought a failing textile company called Berkshire Hathaway, and he turned it into one of the giant conglomerates the world has ever seen. And as he retires now at the age of 90, and he hands it off to his successor, they are sitting on $358 billion of cash. Cash alone. They own things like ABC. They own things like Coca-Cola. They own things like See's Candies. They own. They used to own a lot of Apple, though they still own quite a bit of Apple. They used to own Wells Fargo. They owned a lot of Wells Fargo. Geico Insurance. So a whole bunch of companies. And he buys companies, and he collects the dividends, and he's sitting on a mountain of cash. Now, let's see. When he bought Berkshire Hathaway in the 1960s, Berkshire Hathaway, I believe, and the story goes, if I have it correctly, he bought the company because he bought some stock in the company, and he didn't like the way it was being run, or they told him one thing and they ended up doing another, and he wasn't happy with it. So he decided to buy the company and fire all the management. And when he bought the company, I want to say the stock was at $13. Well, today it closed. Right, in the 1960s, he bought it for $13. Today, it closed for $744,000. $744,000. Now, here's an interesting story about Warren Buffett. He used to be my neighbor. That's right, Warren Buffett used to be my neighbor. When we come back, I will tell you the story about Warren Buffett as my neighbor, one of the richest men the world has ever seen, and me lived one block apart. We'll come back after the top of the hour, or after the bottom of the hour, and I'll tell you that story. It's open phones, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729, 1-844-262-4729. America at Night. Open phones. We got a couple lines open for you. Give us a call. Friday night. We're having fun. America at Night. Back in a moment.
This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Coming to you from the heart of the nation, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, it's open phones. I was in the middle of my Warren Buffett story. Warren Buffett just retired from Berkshire Hathaway, and their stock, by the way, as we mentioned, closed today at, what is it? What did I say it was? It was, here you go, $744,000. It's baby Berks. The Berkshire B, right? The baby Berks, the B shares, they're a steal at $496. So how about that? So here's my story. When I got into radio up in Omaha, Nebraska, we're going back a number of years, 20 plus years ago. I was lucky enough to buy a home, and I bought a home, and a very lovely starter home, and I scraped together all my nickels and dimes and purchased a home. Believe it or not, my mortgage was a 5-year ARM at 6.5%, and I thought I had died and gone to heaven. 6.5%, 5-year ARM is the greatest deal I'd ever heard of. Anyway, so I buy this home, lovely, lovely starter home in a lovely little community. And so I was there for a good year or so, maybe 2 years before I moved on, radio career being what it is, moved on. But in that year I was living there, I became friends with some of the neighbors. And some of the neighbors, one of the girls who lived on the block told a great story. She lived on the next block. So I lived on a block, and then she lived I was like on the corner. She was on the next block. And she happened to live on the same block as Warren Buffett. And so she was throwing a 40th birthday party for herself, and she wanted to invite all of her neighbors because she was being very neighborly. Back when we liked our neighbors, and back when we talked to people and didn't think they were our sworn enemy. And so she invited everybody on the block. And she thought to herself, should I invite the richest man in the world who just also happens to live on my block? Now, it was a block where modest homes, and he lived at the corner where, it was this really, really nice home. Wasn't modest for a, gabillionaire, but still a nicer home than some of the other houses on the block. And so she said, well, shoot, you know what? Yeah. If I'm going to invite all the neighbors on the block, I'm going to invite all the neighbors on the block. So she left a note on a little card on his door and walked away. Well, lo and behold, the door rings the next day, and it's him. And he says, thank you very much for the card. It's very lovely. I'm going to be out of town the day of your party, but please feel free the next time you do something like this. I would love to come and chat with the neighbors. So a few years goes by, and she wants to throw a 4th of July party, and she wants to invite all the neighbors. And so she leaves the little flyer, the little note, the little card in his mailbox. And 4th of July, he shows up drinking I think it was a Diet Coke, and spent a good hour there talking with the neighbors, just having a grand old time, just hanging out, being an American. And, there's Bob, there's Steve, and there's my neighbor Warren, who is the richest man in the world. I love that story. But that's the type of guy he is, right? He's a brilliant mathematical mind, right? Became a billionaire investing in all of these companies, and is 90 years old, and he says he's nothing more than compound interest, which, right, it's nothing more than compound interest. Slow and steady wins the race. That was his goal, and he's been very honest about and very forthcoming about how he's made some good deals and he's made some bad deals. But he has the greatest thing of all, which is time, right, and compounding interest. So that's my Warren Buffett brush with greatness. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Let's go to John in St. Louis. John, thanks for holding on. Yes. Welcome to America at Night.
Yes, McGraw.
John,
go ahead. How you doing?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for calling.
Yes, I would just call and let you all know that I really, really enjoyed Hollywood Exec for a Day.
You like that one. Did you pick the right one, or did you pick the wrong one?
Well, my baby in the back, she's hollering. I think that was the right one. Isn't that right, baby? Yep. There it is. You have it.
How old's your baby in the back seat?
She's 16 months.
Oh, my goodness. You take care of that little baby, huh? That's your job now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, McGraw.
You got it. That little angel sent directly from heaven, John. You're supposed to take care of her, so do a good job. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
You got it. John in St. Louis. Let's go to Tony in Montreal. Tony, welcome to America at Night. Hello.
How you doing?
Good. Tony, how are you doing?
Good. I think we're becoming really good friends. We insult each other, and then we still talk to each other. I think that's good news. What do you think?
I don't think you insulted me, and I don't. Please, God, I hope I didn't insult you.
No, I'm joking. We never insult each other. I got a big smile on my face sitting here having my marinara and arrabbiata as I listen to you and my Asiago cheese, and I'm enjoying your show. So never am I don't have time to get angry with people. I just differences of opinion just are differences of opinion. I just want to talk about culture, though. A little bit of culture. You mentioned one time, you said, Tony, don't get angry with America. They don't even know their own history. So a little bit of a history lesson. You guys have great cultural talent. Obviously icons, Al Pacino and great bands, Bruce Springsteen. But your little neighbor to the north, we have equally talented bands. And I'm just going to talk about bands tonight. If you can take a look, because you're a St. Louis Blues fan, I want you to maybe roll some tunes maybe later if you have, or maybe you've already done this one. Red Ryder and Tom Cochrane. He wrote some amazing tunes. I would say, I think that Bruce Springsteen is the Tom Cochrane of the United States, because I think that if anyone likes Bruce Springsteen, you'd love Tom Cochrane. I won't say they're in competition, but not too many people. I think you guys know about him, but you don't have that much of a playlist on him. But I think you should just do a couple of his tunes, and The Boy Inside the Man, and Lunatic Fringe when he was with Red Ryder, and
the guy's name is Tom Cochrane.
Yeah, Tom Cochrane. He's now off. Used to be in Red Ryder. It was first called Red Ryder, and now it's just Tom Cochrane and his band. But he wrote some incredible songs that have major impact on Canadians. And for the one song I want you to actually see on YouTube is Big Leagues. He wrote it in 1988 about a hockey player that was going to make it from the big league. Talk about his dad and his son, and
He didn't make it to the big leagues because he was in the wrong lane doing 70 with his girlfriend. And if you read the history, there's some type of historical connection to Luc Bourdon and other players. But he says it's an amalgamation of all guys trying to make it to the big leagues. But I want you to listen to the Canadiana in that guy's voice. I want you to appreciate the love that we have for our country and understand that we are not in a competition with your country. We are your friends. And when your major politicians, that sometimes I agree with your major politicians, but when you want to take over our country, you think about the toughest hockey players in the world that played for your team, that your teams, the greatest actors that you guys have, and the greatest bands. Just by the way, the 1960s icon rock and roll folks group.
Hold on a second. Hold on, Tony. I am what, 58 years old, and the only person I have ever heard say anything negative about Canada, was President Trump, where he went off the last 6 months, or whatever it was. No, I know, but I mean, it is so off the charts, insane.
It's annoying.
Because, I mean, nobody, I've been to Canada numerous times. Every time I go, I've been to Banff, one of the most beautiful places in all the world. I've been to Toronto. I've been up in Vancouver. I almost took a Canadian Rockies train across the continent. I didn't get a chance to, but I had plans to do it at one point. The most beautiful scenery, the most beautiful people. The coldest and nicest beer I think I've ever had was a Moosehead when I was in Toronto, but that's a whole other story. Nobody has ever said a negative. No one's even said anything remotely negative, like, boy, that guy's a jerk who was from Canada. The only person I've ever heard anything negative about Canada was President Trump. So Americans love Canada. They love Canadians. We're tied at the hip. We have so many, cultural icons that are from Canada, that are down here, that are from America, that are up there. So I please tell your neighbors and friends up in Canada that Americans love Canadians.
So I'll just say this. I agree with a lot of his President Trump's economic policies, whether, Americans agree or not, because, I'm a conservative economist. But in terms of cultural imposition, I'm saying he's annoying, but I'm not saying that he's going to be realistic in his goals. But I'm just saying that sometimes, when we produce bands like the Bare Naked Ladies, Blue Rodeo, Tom Cochrane, Bachman Turner Overdrive, the Guess Who, Burton Cummings, the band, don't forget we're not so bad. We get some talent up here, and it's nice to be appreciated once in a while. Like when we call up and we say, I like listening to McGraw, I like listening to Rich Valdez. We like listening to you guys because we feel affinity with you as Americans, and we feel the pain and we feel the joy. We share the same holidays and we share the same goals politically and economically. So sometimes don't forget that we were there in World War I, World War II. We were there all the way till yesterday in Afghanistan. Our country is a kick-ass country, okay? And don't forget that. We are the Icemen from the north.
Not only that, I was rooting for the Blue Jays during this last World Series, so there you go.
Hey, listen, you know what? We got our revenge in the Four Nations Cup. Trump was saying he was going to, kick us all over the ice. And, of course, the little brother to the north, of course it was a fantastic game, but we beat you by one goal. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it's all in fun. But the thing is, it sent a little bit of a riveting message back to Washington. We're not so bad. We're pretty tough, and we still love you, and you bring the best out of us, but we're still your friends.
Tony in Montreal, have yourself a Happy New Year. Look forward to talking more in the future.
No problem, man. I love you.
You got it. America at Night right here. Back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven, where the nation comes to talk. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
All right, let's go back to the phones here. We've got Hillary in St. Louis. Hillary, thanks for joining us. Welcome to America at Night.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure, thanks for
calling.
calling.
I know that your show is so much fun. I totally enjoyed the exec for a night because you know how you predict movies and you think, man, I really could have produced that a little bit better. But that Theo, I think his name is something Clark. But that really allows me to be like, yes, I really could produce something. So thanks so much for bringing that to us. It's a lot of fun.
Hillary, I have to ask you a question. Are you related to Theo Lewis Clark?
No, I think I've seen him around because I am from St. Louis, but I'm not related to him.
Okay, I just thought I thought he would put you up to this phone call just to sort of, he would pay you to say something nice about him.
I mean, I don't know him that well, but he's pretty charismatic, so I could see him probably encouraging people to do that. But
I very much could see him really paying somebody to do that. Okay. All right, fair.
Oh,
so
someone? No.
All right. So Hillary, check. Hillary is a fan of Theo Lewis Clark. I can't wait. You see his head getting bigger than the arch as you talk about him. Anything else, Hillary? Anything else, Hillary?
Well, you all know how to produce a show, so you're doing a great job, and I enjoy listening to you. And if it wasn't for Theo, I probably wouldn't be listening. So, I mean, I think, it does draw me in to laugh and listen and enjoy what you all put together. So thanks for the wonderful entertainment.
Hillary, thank you very much. What a great way to end the first show of 2026. I thank you for the phone call. Spread the word and call back anytime.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good night.
You got it. I will. I'll keep saying it. But when Westwood One came to me and said, "Would you be interested in what kind of show would you like to do?" I made no bones about the fact that I wanted to bring it back to what Larry King did and what Jim Bohannon did, which was just sort of interesting conversation. And not to say that the other shows aren't interesting, but I'm just naturally curious about a lot of different things, and so. That's the type of show I want to do. And if I'm going to have to do a show for 3 hours, this is the show I want to do. And so Hillary, I thank you and all the kind words and even the ones who say they don't like the show. Can't please everybody. You got to do the show you have to do. So I will leave you with this. There's a couple of interesting stories that I just can't, not enough time. I just can't get to. But there's a good story I wanted to leave you with about artificial intelligence. There's a lot of negatives about artificial intelligence and about how Elon Musk is now trying to rewrite his artificial intelligence on Twitter so that it won't create child pornography. Okay? Yeah, I think we have a problem with artificial intelligence. But it's not all bad. And I leave you with this story. In China, they are using artificial intelligence to detect pancreatic cancer. And so there are stories of pancreatic cancer being one of the most aggressive forms of cancer because it's so hard for early detection. And there are now tests being done using special CAT scans, CT scans, that use artificial intelligence. That's the best I can explain it because I'm certainly not a doctor. But they're using artificial intelligence to detect early cancer cells within the pancreas. And there have been stories about how they have gone in and taken out the cancer. The biggest thing is, trying to get it early. And if you can't detect it early, that's why it's so dangerous. Now, it's certainly not perfect, and they're certainly worried about some false positives and some people maybe being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer who don't have pancreatic cancer. But there are now seeing some real results with artificial intelligence that is able to detect some forms of pancreatic cancer in its early stages and able to save lives of people who otherwise would die of cancer, except for the fact that these leaps and bounds of technology with artificial intelligence. And so, right, the fight begins, the yin and the yang. Everything's not all good and everything's not all bad, because with all the troubles artificial intelligence is creating, these people the experts point to things like this that will see some real world advantages to artificial intelligence. I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the future. We thank you for checking in. Monday will start January in earnest, so have a good, safe weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday night. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. Thanks to Theo and Bill on the road and everybody else. This is America at Night on Westwood One.